Welcome back to American Knock Radio. We had a really popular show just a few months back, and the reason for it is because I had my good friend Dr. Peter Glidden on, and we've got him back. Dr. Glidden, welcome back to American Knock Radio. It is absolutely great to have you. Good to see you. You look good, man. And you're the king of your mom jokes. And so I sent the 2-minute promo of your event coming up over at Late Big Pharma behind.com. And my mom said, he looks good. And I said, I'm not telling him that, but I'm not now because it's funny, because that's what you do. Dr. Glidden, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. It's this man saved my life. I have had God put people in my life that have tremendously blessed and been a benefit to me and many other people. And Dr. Peter Glidden is one of them. And Dr. Glidden is an expert in non-drug and surgery medical interventions. He's been licensed and practicing for over 30 years. He's got over 8 years of university training in the usage of vitamins, minerals, amino and fatty acids. He knows what nutrients are good, what are bad, what to use by itself, what you need to put together to make it work. This isn't some guy selling essential oils on Twitter claiming that they cure bunions or something like that. No, this is the real deal. And look, with medical interventions in nutrition and diet, and I think you're going to agree with what I'm about to say, Dr. Glidden, the key is, well, there's a set of keys: the right information, consistency, and time. If you're bouncing around from health guru to health guru to health guru all over the place online, you're going to get a bunch of different advice. Some of it might be good, but you won't be consistent with it and get the results that you're looking for. You need somebody that knows what they're doing, and you need to allow the time with the right information and action taken for the body to heal itself as God intended. Dr. Glidden, do you agree with that statement?
100%. You couldn't be more spot on. I mean, if you had a bad tooth, here's what you wouldn't do. You wouldn't, troll through the internet to try to find somebody who gave you advice about how to fix the tooth. You got to go to Amazon.com, buy dental equipment, and try to fix your own tooth. You wouldn't do that. What you would do is search for somebody who was a dentist, who was licensed and regulated, who had decades of experience, and who came with good recommendations. That's what you would do. But when it comes to health conditions, because we've been inside of a medical monopoly for longer than anybody's been alive, people who are frustrated with conventional medicine, and rightly so, they don't know where to go. Because, my profession, naturopathic medicine, even though it takes 8 years of university, 1,000 hours of clinical supervision, you got to graduate, you got to pass national boards, you got to pass state boards, you got to get a license to practice, you got to do 25 hours of continuing education. Most people, even though all of that is required for me to call myself a naturopathic physician and to do what I do, most people, let's be honest, don't even know how to pronounce naturopathy, let alone know what it is or what it can do. And this is because of the medical monopoly. So the stuff that myself and my colleagues do, even though it is 100 times more effective than what the MDs bring to the table, even though we attempt to cure the condition, even though we use science-based, clinically verified therapeutics, which are based upon the foundation of natural law, God's law, even though all of that is true, we are the minority. And we're not the minority for, lack of results. We're the minority because of the pharmaceutical monopoly of the marketplace. And, oh yeah, let's not forget, a patient cured is a customer lost. So it's kind of a big deal what myself and my colleagues do. It is, in fact, the best kept secret in modern American medicine. And that's why I like being on your program, because I can talk about it to the masses, because everybody needs to know this. I mean, there's not one person in the world that does not need to know this. And oh, by the way, before we get into it more, because there's a lot to talk about, I just wanted to say hats off to Canada, because I just heard that you guys got the wheel, electricity, and public roadways just last week. That's a big deal,
Yeah. Yeah, we still have to beat the polar bears off the garbage with a hockey stick Thursday morning, but we're coming along nicely. Dr. Glidden, let's talk about your profession and how it has progressed. Like, has it changed much, or is it a thing where you've basically, I mean, there's some upgrading and there's new discoveries being made, or is it that what you have is so successful that you really don't need to change a lot? Like, is there some things that are just always going to be the same and that's all there is to it?
Well, there's a couple of things to talk about in that regard, and it's a point well taken. But I need to make some distinctions here, right? Let me see if I can get these logos to, there we go.
There you go.
So right around the turn of the century, the education of the naturopathic student in the schools, there's a naturopathic medical school in Canada. There's another one. There's soon going to be 2 naturopathic medical schools in Canada. There are 4 in the United States, and the ones in the US are fully accredited by the United States Department of Education. However, for reasons which most people would not understand, it has everything to do with politics and bad actors. Right around the turn of the century, the education of the student at a naturopathic medical school listed heavily away from pure naturopathic therapeutics based on natural law, leaning heavily towards the use of prescription medicines as primary care, and using naturopathic therapeutics to clean up the mess that the drugs make so you can use more drugs. And this is a gigantic divide happened in the naturopathic medical profession right around the turn of the century.
And so would that be like a complete opposite of the philosophy that you were trained under? I'm guessing it is.
Not a complete 100% opposite, but really close. and so much of a difference that there was an entire group of naturopathic doctors that had been around for decades, myself included, who rose to the challenge here, and this organization was founded. It's called the Naturopathic Medicine Institute. It's a 501c3 nonprofit in the US. It's an educational institution, the intention of which is to keep the flame of real naturopathic medicine alive and deliver continuing education in real naturopathic therapeutics to naturopathic students and to recent graduates who have no idea how to practice naturopathic medicine. And this is how this institute started. It was about 15 years ago, I think, maybe more, maybe 20. I can't remember. It was a little after the turn of the century. Naturopathic recent graduates with their degree and their license started showing up at a colleague of mine's office. He was very successful, really real naturopathic doctor in Connecticut. And they say, hey, and his name was Jim Sensenig. They said, Dr. Sensenig, we just graduated and we have no idea how to treat people with naturopathic therapeutics. Help us. So the Naturopathic Medicine Institute was formed, the intention of which is to, teach real naturopathic therapeutics to anybody that has ears to hear. And yeah, it is a significant divergence. And what we refer to now, with those of us practicing real naturopathic medicine, refer to the people that aren't as green allopathic, naturopaths. They're not practicing naturopathic medicine. They're practicing this weird mashup hybridization of mostly pharmaceuticals with a little bit of herbs thrown in just for, kicks and giggles. And it's nonsense, quite frankly.
So with you, people are getting the unadulterated actual practice of naturopathy. The propaganda, which the pharma companies, I don't want to get into big pharma and the Flexner report and all that, because by now everybody knows about it. And so I don't think we need to waste time in convincing people that big pharma companies are not great. But one of the nature of the propaganda is that naturopathy, or just healthy living and eating has almost been kind of like if you tell somebody or try to explain what gluten does if they eat it, barley, wheat, rye, and oats, they automatically lump you into a category with like a tranny Antifa vegan practitioner of, you know what I mean? And so like you try to explain don't eat wheat and they're like fag. You know what I mean? But see, that's kind of part of the propaganda of the whole thing, when actually it's not a philosophical thing. It's a mechanical issue, like putting orange juice in your gas tank is bad for your dirt bike. You know what I mean? So
and this goes, see, and you're absolutely right, Mike. It's why I love talking to you and hanging out with you, because you've been a student of this for a long time and you get it, and you're able to see the perturbations here. But look, here's the deal. You know, the medical doctors in the early 1900s, there was a hostile takeover of medicine in North America by the Carnegies and the Rockefellers, and who owned the interests in pharmaceutical companies. And the MDs were ensconced into first place. Everybody else who practiced medicine was kicked off the bus of medicine. It became illegal to practice medicine. You couldn't get a medical degree unless you went to MD school. All the other schools closed down. And since then, the pharmaceutical industry has used its political persuasion, power, and largesse, unbelievable amounts of money, to secure their political position and to actively cast aspersions on everybody who's not an MD.
Right.
And this has been ongoing for over 100 years.
And writing it into movie scripts and TV as well.
100%, because they don't make, every time, you know, an alternative medical practitioner is mentioned in mainstream media, they're looked down upon, right?
Yeah.
It's in a negative light.
Yep.
And it's crazy because, I mean, the opposite is true. The only people practicing quack medicine in the 21st century are people with MD after their name. The leading cause of death in the United States is MD medicine. The leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States is MD medicine. There are, I think, 29 or 30 drugs right now which were previously approved by the FDA as safe and effective, and now there's all these lawsuits against them because they're killing people.
Yeah.
I mean, Vioxx killed, I think it was 50,000 people. Nobody went to jail.
Yeah.
Right? So the halls of conventional medicine, MD-directed pharmaceutical centrist medicine, are littered with the discarded remains of just really stupid, bad therapeutics, like bloodletting, right? Large doses of mercury. Let's stick large doses of mercury up somebody's rear end. That's going to be a cure-all. These were the things.
Fantastic.
These were the things that were the standard of care in their day.
Yeah.
And that if you didn't do that, then, you know, you were kicked out of the practice of medicine. That's how George Washington was killed, for goodness sakes, with bloodletting. So my point here is that quack medicine is a real thing. And the only people practicing it have MD after their name. And the only reason they can do it and fail and hurt people and bankrupt people and fail. I mean, while the MDs have been in exclusive control of everything, chronic disease is escalating. Alzheimer's is through the roof. Autism is through the roof. Just as many people get heart disease now as they did before. Obesity is through the roof. Life expectancy is getting shorter. We're not getting healthier. We're getting sicker because your medical doctor doesn't practice health care. They practice disease management and sick care. And their therapeutics are inconsistent with natural law. They're throwing shit against the wall to see what sticks. And when it doesn't stick and people die, there are no consequences. It's a bad situation, man, across the board. And I'm telling you, people are starting to wake up.
Yeah.
After everything, all the COVID shenanigans, and you got to be kidding me, right?
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, Mike, as bad as people think that it is because of COVID, it's 1,000 times worse, man.
Yeah.
It's 1,000 times worse because of the monopolization of the medical market and this, you know, the information monopoly and all of this propaganda against everybody who's not an MD. It's really super bad.
Yeah, like with COVID and the vaccines, like I'm not a fan of COVID shots, no matter who made them. But it was weird to me because, like you talked about with that awakening that's happening all of a sudden, like I'm seeing people going, you just can't trust your doctor in the last 3 years. And I'm like, wait a minute, you think that the health of the nation just started being poor because of the COVID vaccine? Like for a lot of people, that COVID shot was like the coup de grace. It was almost a mercy killing because like the health of the nation was so bad for so long. I mean, obesity was already skyrocketing. And then you've got NASCAR putting Viagra decals all over their cars and stuff like that. I mean, the like what people don't understand is that, and people have very short memories, is that hey, there was people dying before COVID vaccines and ventilators and remdesivir came along. It's just that you weren't as hooked into it as and I was, because I was hosting your show and I'm not a doctor. So like I wasn't really comfortable giving people advice, except for the fact that you had some very boilerplate easy things that I could tell them that work most of the time for just about anybody. But so I kind of stuck with surgical mistakes, drug interactions, differences in healthcare systems in Canada and the US, state to state and province to province. And I really got an education. And that was, can you believe it? That was like 13 years ago, Dr. Glidden. That was a long time ago.
Well, you know what Groucho Marx said, Mike?
Yeah.
Time flies like an arrow, and fruit flies like a banana. Hey, listen. So, I mean, here's how bad it is. Okay. So in Canada, they take money right out of your paycheck.
Yeah.
For your health care.
Mm-hmm.
But that medical insurance only gives you access to MD-directed medicine. It doesn't give you access to anything else.
Right.
And while people are under the care of the MDs in the pharmaceutical industry, they got sick. Now, that should cause a red flag to go off, but apparently it doesn't, because everybody's just okay because this is the new norm. Sickness is the new norm, right, underneath the monopoly. And then you get sick while you're under these knuckleheads' care. And then they give it a fancy schmancy, diagnostic name that is supposed to make you feel intellectually inferior. But they have no idea what caused your condition, and they have no idea what to do to cure your condition at all. The best they can do is manage it with pharmaceuticals that make you weaker and more dependent on the drug over time, and then that eventually kill you. And everybody is perfectly fine with this system.
Right.
The only reason that they're perfectly fine with it is because they don't know there are, in fact, alternatives, because we've been propagandized into the ground for the last 100 years.
Hey, look, I'm a doctor. Google, what's going on with my patient? You need Ozempic.
A really good friend of mine is a retired orthopedic surgeon. His name is Dave Janda.
Yeah.
And I fixed Janda's arthritic neck with medical nutrition. He couldn't believe it. And now he's a true believer.
Yeah.
But he recently retired from, work as an orthopedic surgeon. And we were talking a couple months ago. And he told me that a buddy of his had just called him up, who was still working at the hospital that Janda retired from, right?
Yeah.
And the buddy said, man, you'd hate it working here now, because this hospital was just acquired by a medical group. And now they have people, administrators, following the doctors around on their rounds, making sure that they don't spend any more than 6 minutes with a patient.
Yeah, that's happening here too. I've heard, this was like, we're talking 10 years ago, where they were in rural areas. They were kicked. There was doctors that were leaving because the administration and Alberta Health was coming down on them for spending more than 5 minutes with a patient.
That's crazy. Right.
And they said, like, what can I do in 5 minutes? Now what they're doing in Canada, Dr. Glidden, is that, and I heard a friend of mine in Ontario talking about this, and she's pretty well known, but anyway, she said that you walk in and there's a sign that says you can only tell them about one health condition per visit. So if you have a laundry list of things going on with you and you try to tell them about more than one thing, they'll say, I'm not allowed to listen, and the egg timer's running out, so you better be quick.
Well, the reason that all of this nonsense has happened is because of this. And this is a very important distinction for people to understand, right? So number one, your medical doctor may be the nicest person God ever created, but your medical doctor doesn't practice medicine. They practice allopathic medicine, which is one type of medicine, right? I practice naturopathic medicine. There are many different types of medicine. Allopathic medicine is based on a philosophy of reductionism, which argues if it can't be measured, it does not exist. So since nobody's dissected the soul out of the human body or seen it with an MRI, a CT, or an X-ray, it doesn't exist. So in the training of an MD, all things, there's no such thing as the spirit. There's no such thing as God. There's no such thing as the indwelling spirit or the vital force, life after death. It's all a fiction. Consciousness itself is a function of biochemistry. And when you die, it's lights out, game over. It's the dark void, and you're gone forever. That's it. And in this worldview, the human body then becomes basically a bag of biochemicals waiting to break. And when something does break, it's not the MD's job to fix it. It's the MD's job to manage it. And because of this training, MDs have focused exclusively on the pathology, right?
Yep.
You know, the tumor, the constricted airway, the eczematous eruption on the skin. But these things are not the disease. The pathology is not the disease. It is the result of the disease. It's the physiology, funky physiology, that causes the pathology to happen.
Yep.
But when you only focus on the pathology, you can spend 5 minutes with the patient, because all you need to do is look at the X-ray, look at the CT scan, look at the blood work, come up with a diagnosis, and then throw a drug at the pathology. And that's what they do. And that's why they fail, because the tumor is not the disease, it's the result of the disease. The constricted airway is not the disease, it's the result of the disease, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
So now, you know, to put the stamp on it, you know, because we need a free medical market, because of their training in reductionism, what these knuckleheads are good at are illnesses which are the epitome of reductionism. Like, I got a bullet in my arm. I got my leg blown off in Iraq, right? I broke my knee skiing, and now I'm bleeding from my femoral artery. Those conditions are the epitome of reductionism, and that's what the MDs are good at. Military field medicine, trauma care, surgery when it's necessary, the complications of childbirth, and dentistry. I mean, thank God for lidocaine, right? Every time I'm in the dentist chair, I thank God for lidocaine. But for everything else, they suck, and their therapeutics can't possibly even come close to being curative. And while you're under their care, you get weaker and sicker and weaker and sicker and poorer and weaker and sicker and poorer and weaker and sicker and poorer and weaker and sicker, and then you die.
Yep.
And it's a shit show from start to finish.
I love the way that you use the examples that you do. And I want to tell you something right now. I have used examples of it in my preaching. In fact, just recently in my work as a pastor, I preach, and I get called to other churches, and I teach Bible online. And in fact, I used one of your examples in a spiritual context that, you know, by the time something shows up in somebody's life and you can actually see it, whether it's a behavior, an attitude, whatever, it actually started a long time ago when you couldn't see it. It started out as being ungrateful, being unthankful, lack of prayer, lack of consecration, putting your eyes on things that you shouldn't be putting in front of your eyes, and just things like that. So by the time you see it manifesting, it's actually been going on for a long time. And so people, in my job, I have to pray. I have to go to God for things. I can't pretend that I know stuff. The other thing that I like that you said once, and I never forgot this, is the human body physically weighs the exact same right after you die, but you're not there. Yeah. And the other thing too about that philosophy of, well, you're just a bag of water and chemicals waiting to break, and you have no soul. That is the green light to mass murder people, because they're just lumps of nothing. They don't matter. And I had a guy See that?
And abortion. That's what informs abortion.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
what informs transgender mutilation.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if somebody in the lay public actually saw a video of the surgery that's required to change a boy into a girl, they wouldn't be able to sleep for 21 days. They'd be throwing up. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievably horrible. What type of a human being can do that? Well, it's an atheist. The only type of a human being that can do that would be someone who has absolutely no concept of God or the spirit or anything. It's just,
there's no divine truth. There's no right or wrong. There's no darkness, no light. there just is. And it's so destructive. I had a guy a long time ago. When I played in a rock band. Actually, you met him, and I'm glad I don't hang out with him anymore. He's an idiot. But see, this stuff gets philosophized and programmed into entertainment, like we were talking about. And he started quoting Agent Smith on the Matrix, thinking it was his original thought. It was really weird. He was like, "Humans are a disease, Mr. Anderson, a parasite, if you will. They move in and they destroy, and then they die, and when they've burned out the host." And I said to him, "So humans are a parasite and a disease, huh?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "All right. Why don't you go home and tell that to your 5-year-old daughter, you idiot? Explain that to her. Go tell your beautiful 5-year-old little daughter that she's a disgusting parasite and a disease, and because of her, puppies die."
Yeah, it's nuts.
I never thought of it that way. And I said, "Yeah, you didn't think much at all. You're parroting a death cult philosophy. You love death, and you've been talked into it by thinking it's wise and cool. No, it's not. It's gross. It's worms. It's stink. It's dead kids."
Brought to you by the MDs. I mean, let's be honest. It wasn't the chiropractors or the naturopaths or the homeopaths or the botanical medicine practitioners or the Ayurvedic practitioners who were conducting the horrible human experiments at Dachau and Buchenwald. It was the MDs. It was the MDs who did the Tuskegee experiments. It was the MDs who created the Zyklon B gas that killed all the inmates in the death camps. It wasn't anybody else. It was the MDs.
Yep.
How can somebody do that? Well, you can do it if you're an atheist.
Let's. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm done.
Yeah, I want to go down that road because here's something really beautiful that's happening. Okay, I really feel bad for people that have talked themselves into getting these horrible surgeries done on their children. And I tell my church, we better be ready for this generation up and coming, because we've got a mess to clean up. We're gonna have people walking in the church that had this happen to them when they're young, and they're going to need hope for the future. They're going to need God's love, and they're going to need healing. And then we've got to be ready. We can't look down on them. But what I am noticing, Dr. Glidden, is that while people with that death mindset are mutilating and scarring their own children physically and mentally for life, there's this little underground army of beautiful people that are having 1 million kids per family. Like my assistant pastor, they just had their 5th child. We have a listener in Oklahoma. They're having their 3rd. We have a man and his wife in California. And by the way, Sierra's a big fan of you, Dr. Glidden. He told me yesterday when I announced you were coming on, she set the alarm for this show. But anyway, they're expecting their 1st child. And so, Dr. Glidden, what I loved about you when I first found you, when I was flipping around on GCN, when I was tired of getting health advice from Mike Adams that doesn't work, and I found, hey, Fire Your MD Now. That sounds pretty cool. I was enthralled with your program because you were making biochemical processes and the manipulation of the healing process sound really easy. and awesome. And it almost sounded too good to be true. It really did. It sounded like you were making it sound too easy to get good health results through nutrition.
Well,
But there was a ring of truth to it. And so we have all these beautiful families having babies. Let's talk about what to do for a woman that's going to have a baby so that child grows up to be the uber American in a world full of transgendered crazy people. Dr. Glidden, what should we do for these beautiful children in utero?
well, I'll tell you, because it's really easy. But as a prelude to that, I just want to say that when there was a hostile takeover of medicine in the early 1900s. One of the things that the people who took medicine over did was they instituted a language monopoly, and they made medical education Latin-based.
Right.
Now, they did that to make medicine seem complicated to the uneducated person who was, the majority of people that didn't have, more than a fifth grade education. They still don't, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So it was a trick done by the people in charge of the monopoly to make medicine seem super complicated. And, the only people who can figure that stuff out are the super smart kids with the pen caddies in your high school who are going to do the pre-med department. And, oh my God, I can't possibly do that because I can't handle that academic load because those people are way smarter than me. And let me tell you something, they're not any smarter than you. And here's the deal, Mike. Surgery is complicated, but healing the body is not. Healing the body is easy. Why? Because the body is inhabited by an intelligent spiritual force. That intelligent spiritual force is running the show. Our bodies grew themselves all by themselves from one cell into us through the innate spiritual intelligence. Right now, your body, my body, everybody's body is taking care of trillions with a T of biochemical reactions right now, all of which are outside of your conscious control.
Involuntary action, yeah.
Well, how the hell is that? Who's in charge of that?
That's amazing.
It's the inborn spiritual intelligence of the human body that's running the show. And by the way, when somebody dies, the spirit leaves the body. What happens to the body? It decomposes. What's the same biochemistry? Well, why does it decompose? Well, because Elvis has left the building.
Yep.
It is the spiritual force which is keeping everything together and running everything. So naturopathic physicians, holistic physicians, Ayurvedic physicians, homeopaths, botanical medicine people, we have the easiest job in the world. All we have to do is understand natural law, figure out how to apply natural law in somebody who's not healthy to stimulate that person's body to fix itself. I mean, if you cut your finger, you don't have to tell your immune system to upregulate fibrinogen, macrophage response time and secrete fibrinogen and escalate helper T cell function. You don't even know what the hell that is. All you have to do is keep it clean and it heals itself.
Yeah.
Right? So when we are interfacing with people in this domain, it's easy. Because all we have to do is tell them what to do to stimulate their body's built-in God-given ability to fix itself, and then get the heck out of the way and let the body fix it, because your body wants to fix itself. Your body is trying to fix itself. Your body knows how to fix itself, but it needs help. I mean, we need to eat food. We need to drink water. We need to breathe air. We need to put warm clothes on when we go outside into cold weather. Well, there are a few other things that we also need to do to help the body.
Yeah.
But these things are hidden from our view because the pharmaceutical industry, which controls everything, does not want you to know this.
Yeah.
Because a patient cured is a customer lost.
Right.
So here's the nuts and bolts. And you know what we do is, again, based on natural law, and we never discard anything. We don't discard a therapeutic ever, because our therapeutics are based on natural law and they work. we add things because we learn new things all the time. That's why it's called the practice of medicine. We don't know everything. Time goes by, we learn things. I just came from a naturopathic conference. I learned a ton of things I had no idea about.
Oh,
Remarkable
cool.
stuff. Remarkable stuff.
Yeah.
But my point is, because what I and my colleagues do is based on natural law, it's inviolate. It never changes. And there are certain things that everybody needs to start with in order to help their body work. And so here's what the pregnant mother should do. And in a perfect world, the pregnant mother would have started this 3 months before she got pregnant.
Yeah.
And then continued it all the way through the pregnancy. So there are 90 essential nutrients that the human body needs in order to function the way that God and nature intended. 90. There are 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, and 2 fatty acids. These are essential nutrients that your body needs but cannot make. Your body needs calcium, can't make it. Body needs selenium, can't make it. Body needs vitamin C like Charlie, can't make it. Body needs amino acids, can't make it. Body needs omega-3 essential fats, can't make it. These nutrients have to go down the hatch on a regular basis. And historically, we used to do this by eating food. But even when we did this historically, the food that we ate didn't contain all of the nutrients that the body needs. There were more historically than are there now. But it always has been and always will be, unless the Garden of Eden happens again, that it is impossible to secure 100% of your body's nutrient needs from eating food. You can't do it. It's not just tricky. It's not just improbable. It's not just difficult. It's impossible. You cannot do it. Because 60 of the 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 aminos, 2 fatty acids, minerals are 2/3 of your body's needs. 66% of your body's nutrient needs, essential nutrients, are minerals. But plants can't make minerals. Animals can't make minerals. The only way that a mineral gets into the food is if it's in the soil that the food is growing in, or if it's in the soil and then washes into the water and then we drink the water. But the minerals that the human body needs are not in the soil. They're not there. Some of them are, or we'd be dead. The plant wouldn't be able to grow, but we need 60. We're lucky if there are 6 minerals in the soil. We're at an extreme mineral deficiency. And by the way, the mineral deficiency in the soil of the United States was reported to the Congress of the United States in the 1930s. And they didn't do anything about it. And so as the mineral content in the soil goes down and down and down and down and down and down and down, guess what goes up and up and up and up and up and up and up? The incidence of chronic disease. Because all chronic disease, let me say it again, all chronic disease, without exception, is related to nutrient deficiencies. There are other things that are going on, but nutrient deficiencies are a really freaking big deal, which conventional medicine pays no attention to whatsoever, and which my profession literally wrote the book on. So here's how many nutrients the human body needs to work the way that nature and God intended it. Here's how many nutrients are in the food, less than half. Then the stress of life comes rolling in. Your body burns through its reserves, and then things start to break. So you get arthritis, you get high blood pressure, you get migraine headaches, or you become infertile, or you have eczema, or you have asthma, or you have depression, or you have insomnia, or you have anxiety and panic attacks. Whatever the heck it is, you've got it. And you don't have these things because you have a bad gene. You don't have these things because you're getting older. You don't have these things because of chemtrails. Chemtrails are a very real stress, by the way, but they're not the cause of chronic disease. You have these things primarily because your body ran out of the nutrients that it needed to keep you healthy. When your car runs out of engine oil, the engine seizes. Nothing wrong with the engine. You ran out of oil. Not enough air in the tires. They don't go round and round anymore. You need air. Well, guess what? Your body needs 90 essential nutrients. So here's what happens when a woman gets pregnant. Here's how many nutrients the human body needs. Here's how many nutrients they have. Then maybe they take a prenatal. They get a little more. No minerals in the prenatal, though, not enough. And then they get pregnant. The baby steals half of the mother's nutrients. So the baby's growing up in utero undernutrified. During pregnancy, the mother is undernutrified. That's why, we have postpartum depression, eclampsia, preeclampsia, all the complications of childbirth, and autism. Because the kid's growing up completely undernutrified from conception, and the mother's body doesn't have the nutrients it needs to handle the stress of gestation. Can't do it. I mean, your car needs 8 quarts of oil. Put 1 quart of oil in it and drive it at 150 kilometers an hour.
Pedal to the metal.
See how long it's going to last. It ain't going to last.
Yep.
So the solution to all of this nonsense is easy. What do you have to do? Do you have to micromanage the body? You have to take blood work every 24 hours and see what nutrients there are and go to a compounding pharmacist and have them develop a new vitamin pill every day to meet your specific needs? No. Because your body knows what to do. So what do? We give the body everything that it needs. And every day. And we give it in formulas that the body can actually absorb. For instance, calcium is an extremely important nutrient for the human body. Most calcium supplements, over-the-counter calcium supplements in a capsule form, in order for you to meet the RDA, which is 2,500 milligrams a day of calcium.
RDA? Required daily amount?
I'm sorry?
Recommended daily amount?
The recommended daily amount, that's right. You would need to swallow about 35 of those capsules a day. There's 30 in the bottle. Maybe there's 60 in the bottle. On the label, it says take 2 a day. And that's why people take supplements all the time, over-the-counter supplements, and they still get sick. Because the supplements that they're taking are crap. I mean, all wine is made from grapes. But there's a pretty big difference from bottle to bottle depending on the variables. Everybody's chicken soup is different because the recipe and the ingredients, right? It's the same with nutritional supplements.
Yeah, and there's like calcium bicarbonate and
calcium citrate and calcium malate and calcium hydroxyapatite. They're all different.
Vitamins are water and fat soluble, and there's tricks to it. There's things that people need to know instead of just, well, get a bottle of iodine. And like they're expecting to get their health back this way, practicing what the term that you coined, fractional nutrition, where they think they can. That's what I was before I met you. I would read an article. Okay, you need vitamin C. Okay, you run out and get your vitamin C. Read somewhere over here. Oh, you need vitamin D. Okay, I got that. Cider vinegar, coconut oil. That's good for you. And so, like, pretty soon you've got a big cupboard full of stuff that you're taking 1 million pills a day, and you will get little bits of feeling a bit of pep here and there, but it doesn't work. And so,
and there are side effects also. And I'll give you a story. So before COVID, we would see maybe 2 cases of cataracts a year.
Yeah.
Right. It's usually in elderly people. You get cataracts. Okay. But because everybody was overdosing on zinc and vitamin C and vitamin D, which isn't even a vitamin, it's a hormone.
Right.
In super large doses, like you were talking about.
Yeah.
They got cataracts. Now we're seeing 8, 10 cataract patients a month.
Because of bad advice on different Patriot.
Because of overdoing it with all these vitamins instead of doing the holistic comprehensive vitamin. Why did people do that? Because they don't know any better and they're grasping at straws. Because nobody even knows how to pronounce naturopathy, let alone know what the hell a naturopathic doctor is or what they can do. And nobody has access to people like me. Nobody. So, where did I read? My people are destroyed by lack of knowledge. Yeah. By lack of knowledge. And this is a big deal because healing is easy. And if you were taught the stuff that I know in high school, you wouldn't be sick. And you'd have healthy kids. The kids wouldn't get sick. Now, nothing's going to prevent everything 100% of the time. But which is going to grow stronger? A plant that's been fertilized and has good water and good sunlight, or a plant that's been kept in the dark with minimal amounts of water, minimal amounts of sunlight, and no fertilizer. Which one's going to be stronger and healthier? It's going to be the one that's fertilized. So when you figure it out and you pop out of the medical matrix and your reliance on the conventional medical knuckleheads, and you start to lean on the experts in the field, like myself and my colleagues, you learn a thing or two rapidly. If you're smart enough to pass the driver's license test, you are smart enough to learn what to do to stimulate your body's built-in God-given ability to fix itself, because it's easy. It's not difficult. We gave 10,000 people over the last 9 years a combination of these products. It's called the Healthy Foundation Pack. And I don't make any money from the sale of these supplements, by the way, folks. So I don't have any skin in this game. I recommend this stuff because they're effective. They're the most effective things I've seen in 35 years of clinical work.
You can get them at AmericanHuckRadio.com, but reach out to me first so I can help you. Trust me, the website has a lot of stuff on it, and I want to personally help show you where to go to get what you need, okay? So don't just go to AmericanHuckRadio.com. You can go there and browse, but shoot me an email at AmericanHuckRadio@gmail.com and let me help you out just a little bit with finding what you need, because there are different packs for blood sugar or bone and joint support and heart support and things like that. But the foundational pack that he's talking about, we have that. There's different variations of it. Some are good, some are not. Let me help you. Reach out to me before you spend your money, okay? And some of it might be a little bit pricey, but you know what's pricier? Being able to not being able to get off the couch to get to the bathroom. That'll cost you. Dr. Glidden, go on. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, the only thing more expensive than education is ignorance. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a ripoff, man. And it is expensive.
So we gave this to 10,000 people over 9 years. 10,000 people. 83% of whom had remarkable recoveries in their health, and 83% success rate just with this.
I've seen it.
Just with this.
I'm one of.
How is that freaking possible? Because here's how many nutrients your body needs. Here's how many it has. Your body knows how to fix itself. So when you give it the stuff it needs to fix itself, guess what it does? It fixes itself.
It works. It just works. That's when you are nutrified. Listen to me. When you're nutrified properly for the first time in your life, you feel so good. I was getting like just out of the blue. I was sleeping better than I didn't know sleep could feel that good. Like I've been around this stuff long enough now that I don't really feel it anymore. But I remember the first time it kicked in. It was about a week that I was properly nutrifying. And it was like my vision switched to HD. I saw a difference in my vision, Dr. Glidden, and my energy level was through the roof. My sleep was better. I ran into my aunt downtown in the city I lived in after she had been on it for about a month. And I said, "How do you feel?" And she said, "The best way to describe it is that my insides are happy." Is what she said. Like, I feel so good. And it's because for the first time, your body's functioning without struggling to function. It's just working the way it's supposed to. Sorry to interrupt. We've only got.
Well, you're right, Mike. People get used to being unhealthy.
Yeah.
It's like you buy a car, when you're 10 years old. Nobody does that, but you got a car since you're young. You're driving it your whole life. You never tune it up. You never change the oil. You never change the transmission. You don't do a darn thing to it. You just put gas in it and you get in and you go. You're going to get used to the car being funky. And everybody else's cars are funky. So you think that's just the way the car should be. And I'm telling you, you don't know what you're missing, because your medical doctor does not practice healthcare. And it is impossible for you to get healthy when you're under their care. My colleagues and myself practice healthcare. So we expect you to get healthy under our care. And guess what? When you feel healthy, well, I mean, what Mike was saying is accurate, that you just don't know what you're missing. Let me give you an example here, okay?
4 minutes, Doc.
Okay. In the United States, last year, we spent $877 billion on defense. We spent half of that, $412 billion on blood sugar issues. Half of what we spend on defense, we spent on helping people deal with blood sugar issues. Now, who is that good for? That's good for the pharmaceutical industry, because when we're spending money, they're making money. But let me tell you one of the easiest fixes in the world for blood sugar. So here's how it goes in a healthy human being. You swallow food that's a carbohydrate or it's got sugar in it. Your body digests it. It sends a signal to your pancreas somehow. Your pancreas notices that there's sugar there and it secretes insulin. Insulin floats through the blood and somehow attaches to every single cell in the human body. And every single cell in the human body has a lock on the outside of the cell wall that will accept the insulin key. So the insulin key binds to the insulin receptor on the cell, flips the switch. There's a signal that gets transmitted inside the cell. The cell builds and opens a door on the wall of the cell that lets sugar in. And that's how sugar gets into the cell. It is a remarkable, unbelievable metabolic magic. Insulin binds to the receptor on the outside of the cell, sends a message through the inside of the cell. The cell builds a door, opens the door, and lets the sugar in. Hallelujah, and pass the hat. However, in order for that signal to be transmitted inside the cell, there is a nutrient that is necessary, and it's a mineral nutrient. It's called chromium. So if you don't have chromium, and you won't have chromium enough, because not in your food, not enough, unless you're supplementing with it in the right form that your body can absorb, your body's going to need this much chromium. It's going to have this much chromium. The insulin's going to bind to the cell wall. It's going to turn the lock, but the signal can't get transmitted inside the cell. So no sugar gets into the cell. So sugar builds up and builds up and builds up until it bursts through the wall. And that's why people who are insulin dependent diabetics get, their fingers fall off, their toes fall off, their feet fall off. It's the insulin that's doing it, for goodness sakes.
And Dr. Walter Murch discovered this in like 1957. Chromium.
Yeah, 57.
Yeah. And
this was discovered, this mechanism of the nutrient necessity for proper blood sugar metabolism was discovered in 1957, the year before I was born.
That's how long they've been hiding this from you. And if you ever had your foot cut off, Dr. Glidden, just last 2 months ago, we had a listener that called me up because she was on metformin, and I got her going on the sweeties. She was off of it in a month. It was 1 month on the sweeties that she was off of the metformin. Then she started getting heart palpitations. She asked me what to do. I said, well, okay, so what would Dr. Glidden say? I said, take more omega-3s, make sure you eat meat, and take B vitamins. Guess what? You know what I mean? Like, this is not difficult stuff. You should have learned this in grade 4. Dr. Glidden has an event coming up on Wednesday night at leavebigpharmabehind.com. We've got 1 minute left. Tell everybody where to go and what time, how to get there.
Okay, 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time. LeaveBigPharmaBehind.com at 8 o'clock Central. I'm going to give an expose on the evolution of medicine, why it happened, how it happened. It's going to be a short little history that everybody needs to know. I'm going to tell you why the MDs suck at what they do, what they're good at. But more importantly, I'm going to line it up for you, or easy breezy, lemon squeezy, what to do, the simple steps to take to make your body healthy. It's going to be a presentation, the intention of which is to pop people out of the conventional medical matrix and put them on the road to self-empowerment through self-help, health recovery, clinically verified. LeaveBigPharmaBehind.com. If you're struggling with a chronic health condition, you do not have a bad gene, you have a bad doctor. Let me show you how to help your body heal itself. 8 p.m. Central, LeaveBigPharmaBehind.com, May 8th.
8 Central. That's right before American Rock Radio. So join us for the after party to discuss what Dr. Glidden talked about. God bless you all. Dr. Glidden, thanks for coming on the show. We'll talk to you soon.